The incessant din of the city buzzed in my ears, a discordant symphony of honking horns, distant sirens, and the ceaseless hum of humanity. I stood on my apartment's tiny balcony, surrounded by steel towers scraping the sky, their lights twinkling like stars trapped within glass cages. The city was a neon beast, pulsating with relentless energy. It was an energy I once thrived on, but now it felt suffocating. I yearned for a different rhythm, a more natural cadence. My decision to leave was not a spur-of-the-moment choice, but a gradual understanding that brewed over years. Each day, the clamor of city life grew louder. The walls of my apartment seemed to close in, the air grew denser. I longed for the symphony of silence, the quiet whisper of wind through trees, the tranquil lullaby of a flowing river. With determination etched into my heart, I traded the skyline of steel and glass for the rugged, breathtaking canvas of Alaska. I packed my essentials into a duffel, the rest into boxes destined for storage. As I fired up my old pickup truck and drove away from my city life, the rear-view mirror framed a sight I was leaving behind. My heart felt surprisingly light. The road ahead promised freedom, a different kind of life. The journey was transformative. The urban jungle receded, replaced by the verdant sprawl of the countryside, eventually giving way to majestic mountain ranges. The transition felt like a slow cleanse, the city's concrete grays replaced by endless hues of green and the vibrant blues of pristine lakes. The road led me through an unfolding panorama of nature, leading me towards my new life. Alaska greeted me with its summer splendor. The wilderness stretched in all directions, a vast untouched paradise. I'd chosen a patch of land bordering a tranquil lake, the dense forest my new neighborhood. Here, I was to build my sanctuary, a place of peace, solitude, and reconnection. The construction of the cabin was a labor of love. I felt the weight of every log, saw the spray of sawdust with each cut, smelled the raw, earthy scent of the timber. Each day, the cabin took shape, a testament to my commitment, a physical manifestation of my new direction. I worked under the watchful gaze of the Alaskan sky, the wind whispering through the towering pines, a chorus of encouragement. As I hammered the final nail into the cabin under the blaze of the setting sun, a profound sense of accomplishment washed over me. This simple structure, born of my own sweat and determination, represented my escape from urban chaos. It was a haven amidst the wilderness, a symbol of my yearning for a simpler, more meaningful existence. Under the silent watch of a billion stars, I took a moment to appreciate the peace, the raw beauty surrounding me, and the journey I had undertaken. My old life seemed a world away, and ahead was the call of the wild, an invitation to a life more attuned with nature. As the night descended, I realized that this wasn't just a change of scenery, but a change within. Alaska wasn't just where I was, it was now a part of who I was. Awakening to the soft whisper of the Alaskan wind and the chorus of distant birdsong felt like an invitation to immerse myself in this untamed wilderness. As my senses stirred, I felt a raw connection with my surroundings, a sense of belonging that no urban dwelling could ever evoke. I spent the first days mapping my surroundings on a mountain bike, a trusty old companion from my city days, now repurposed. Gravel paths replaced tarmac, the rustle of leaves replacing traffic, and the thrill of navigating rocky terrains eclipsed the monotony of well-paved roads. My two-wheeled steed and I became explorers, threading through the dense pine forest, racing along the crystal-clear lake, scaling undulating hills, and discovering unseen trails carved by nature's own hand. Every expedition was a sensory feast. The rich, earthy scent of the forest, the cool caress of the wind, the dramatic canvas of the Alaskan sky. Each was a note in the melody of the wilderness. My heart raced, not from stress but exhilaration. It was liberating, reminding me of why I had embarked on this journey. As the days blended into weeks, the land became a part of me, and I, a part of it. I could recognize individual bird calls, distinguish between the rustling leaves caused by the wind and those disturbed by a wandering animal. The sight of the shifting seasons, the dance of light and shadow, the changing hues of the land, everything held a deeper meaning. The connection I sought had begun to sprout, intertwining my existence with the wilderness. Hunting became a necessary skill for survival and a deep dive into the primal instincts that urban life had subdued. I started small, setting traps for rabbits and tracking small game. Every hunt was a lesson in patience and an exercise in humility, a reminder that in nature's grand theater, I was neither audience nor director, but just another player. My first successful hunt was a small hare. As I held it in my hands, I felt a strange mix of triumph and gratitude. This creature had given its life to sustain mine. It made me realize the cyclical nature of existence, the delicate balance of life and death that the wilderness lived by every moment. It was harsh, yet profoundly beautiful. As the Alaskan sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, dancing shadows over the land, I returned to my cabin, the day's hunt in tow. Preparing and cooking the meat over an open fire was a strangely meditative experience, the crackling flames a stark reminder of the primal, basic essence of life. The wilderness unveiled itself to me, my perspective morphed. Each tree, each creature, each gust of wind was a life force, a strand in the intricate web of existence that I was now a part of. The challenges, the thrill, the solitude, all were reshaping me, carving out the city dweller and revealing the wild spirit beneath. Embracing the wilderness meant embracing myself, a realization that was as invigorating as the pure Alaskan air that filled my lungs. Life in the wild could often be a paradox, one moment lulled into serenity by a breathtaking sunrise, the next thrown into chaos by the sudden onset of a storm. This was the lesson the Alaskan wilderness served me one autumn day. The day started uneventfully. A morning bike ride, a successful hunt, the woods were alive with a riot of colors as autumn bared its soul. As I sat by the lake, letting the warm sun temper the chill of the Alaskan wind, dark clouds began to gather ominously at the horizon. In the city, a storm meant inconvenience at most. But out here, it was a spectacle of nature's raw power, a force to be reckoned with. As the sky turned an angry shade of gray, the wind began to howl like a wild beast, stirring the once placid lake into a frenzy of churning waves. I hurried back to my cabin, securing the windows and fortifying the structure as best as I could. The storm hit with the wrath of an ancient god. Rain hammered down, winds raged, and the forest roared in response. Inside my cabin, I could hear the terrifying symphony of the tempest. The walls shook, and the floor vibrated with each thunderous gust. I stoked the fireplace, casting a warm, defiant glow against the onslaught of the storm. For hours the storm raged, nature's fury unleashed. As I sat by the fire, I was not in fear but in awe. The storm was harsh, violent even, but it was a testament to the might of the wilderness, a raw and untamed power that demanded respect. When the storm finally abated, it left a world reborn in its wake. Broken branches, uprooted trees, the land bore the scars of the tempest. But amid the destruction, there was an overwhelming sense of renewal. Freshly washed leaves glistened in the soft light of dawn, the earth smelled of rain, and the forest echoed with the chirping of birds. The storm had tested me. It challenged my resilience, pushing me to fortify not only my cabin but also my spirit. It reminded me that in the face of nature's might, we're humbled, forced to acknowledge our insignificance in the grand scheme of things. As I ventured out to assess the damage and clear the debris, I felt changed. My respect for the wilderness deepened, my connection to it stronger. The storm had been a stern teacher, but it imparted valuable lessons about resilience, about humility, and about the primal power of nature. In the aftermath of the storm, the wilderness felt more alive, vibrating with a palpable energy. I, too, felt more alive. I had weathered the storm, both outside my cabin and within me. I had met nature at its most furious and emerged stronger. The experience was a powerful testament to my journey in the wilderness, a journey that was far from over. The Alaskan wilderness, and I, had transformed. The physical and mental ordeal of weathering the tempest had instilled a profound understanding of the intricate balance between the wilderness and my existence within it. The storm had revealed to me the stark and raw face of the wilderness, its might, and my own resilience in response. My days following the storm were filled with repair and reflection. I found myself in awe of the forest's quiet resilience as it quickly set about healing its wounds. Fallen trees became havens for insects, the upturned soil brought fresh nutrients to the surface, and the sounds of life returned. It was a powerful illustration of the cyclical nature of life, destruction and creation, each a necessary phase for the other to occur. In the stillness after the storm, I discovered a newfound appreciation for the calm. My senses, which had been overwhelmed during the tempest, were now attuned to the quieter, subtler elements of the wilderness. I noticed the rhythm of the forest, the subtle rustling of leaves as a squirrel darted by, the gentle lapping of the lake against the shore, the distant hoot of an owl seeking its mate. These sounds, which might have seemed mundane before, were now part of my symphony of solitude. Solitude, I realized, didn't equate to loneliness. It allowed for introspection, for a deep connection with oneself. The stillness fostered self-discovery. As I mended my cabin and explored the transformed terrain, I found myself also addressing my inner landscape. I let go of residual anxieties from my previous urban life, accepted my fears, and embraced my strengths. The wilderness was shaping my external world, but more importantly, it was molding my internal world. My hunting skills, honed over the months, took on a new level of proficiency. The quiet and patience it required were no longer a struggle but had become meditative. Every successful hunt was a celebration of my integration into this complex ecosystem, my role in the food chain affirmed. The meal that followed was a ritual, an acknowledgement of the cycle of life, a token of gratitude to the wilderness. The wilderness had become more than a refuge. It was now my home. As I gazed out over the forest, the lake, the mountains in the distance, there was a sense of contentment, a peace that permeated my very being. It was in this peaceful embrace of the wilderness that I discovered a version of myself I hadn't known existed. A man in sync with the natural world, a man who could endure and adapt, a man forged by the Alaskan wilderness. As the harsh Alaskan winter approached, I found myself prepared, both physically and mentally. The cabin, fortified against storms, stood sturdy amidst the encroaching frost, stocked with firewood and preserved game. But more importantly, I was fortified, a man remolded by the wilderness, tempered by the storm, and enriched by solitude. My days fell into a rhythm with the natural world. Waking with the sunrise, foraging, hunting, and fortifying my home, and then the quiet contemplation by the fire as the frigid night crept in. As the wilderness hibernated under the blanket of snow, my life too slowed, mirroring the tranquility around me. On some nights, the aurora borealis would paint the sky in luminescent swirls of green and blue, a breathtaking spectacle that stirred feelings of awe and insignificance. As I watched the lights dance across the infinite canvas of the sky, I realized how intertwined I had become with this wild, beautiful corner of the world. My cabin, once a symbol of isolation, had become a bastion of solitude, a place for reflection and self-discovery. In its warmth, I pondered over my journey from a burnt-out city dweller seeking refuge in the wild to a wilderness dweller who found peace in isolation. Each day spent here had chiseled away at my anxieties, my restlessness, and replaced them with resilience, patience, and a deep-seated contentment. Winter turned into spring, and the frozen landscape began to thaw. The forest woke from its slumber, wildlife emerged, and the lake broke free from its icy prison. I too felt a shift within me, a fresh burst of energy reflecting the renewal around me. The quiet introspection of winter had nurtured a growth, a stronger connection with the wilderness, and an intimate understanding of my place within it. As I stood on the shores of the once again placid lake, I marveled at my transformation. The journey had been challenging, even harsh at times, but every moment had served a purpose, every experience a lesson in resilience and self-discovery. My city-bred apprehensions had been replaced with a sense of belonging, a harmony with the wilderness. The Alaskan wilderness, in its brutal honesty and raw beauty, had become an extension of me. I was no longer a visitor, an outsider, but a part of the intricate tapestry of this ecosystem. I had come in search of peace and connection, and in its unyielding yet nurturing embrace, I found much more. I found a home, a purpose, and a version of myself I had only dreamt of. In the heart of the wilderness, I had discovered my heart. And so, my journey continues, each day a testament to the profound truth: the wilderness does not provide an escape from life but a deeper immersion into it. As the new spring dawned, I woke to the music of the wild, ready for another day in my Alaskan home, ready for whatever the wilderness had in store. After all, this was my life, my wilderness.